I mentioned towards the end of last year, 2025, that I'd be focusing on like releasing my upcoming books. The whole priority for 2026 was books. To my surprise, I've literally just submitted the manuscript for Follow Your Dreams to Sparkle Your Soul to Amazon. They've immediately, literally in hours, approved the digital Kindle version ebook. So that's now actually out now, the digital version. There is up to 72 hours for anything to be approved. So I'm still waiting for the paperback. I would never expect that within the first 24 hours. There's a whole, it's more of a, because it's more of a fine tune microscope, because it doesn't really cost, like, let's say there's an issue with an ebook. There's no print cost. There's nothing really that's going to an issue if there's any problems. But if there's a paperback and then we've printed it, that's where you get financial losses, isn't it? So yeah, I expect them to be a bit more thorough. But there's a whole thorough process as you submit anyway. They go through like a submission criteria thing, and then they create a preview. And if there's any issues that's flagged, it come up, and then you address that issue. But like I say, I've done this far quicker than I expected. I expected by the end of February. That's the sort of time limit I was giving myself. And I had my daughter over the Christmas. She went home. I had a few issues I had to deal with within the first week of January, leading up to about the 12th, I think it was. So sometimes I think to myself, oh, you've been working your ass off for like 3 weeks to get this done. And I think it's been more like 2 weeks. It's been that fast. But what people won't realize behind the scenes is when I'm focused, I'm like a machine. I can't switch off. Even if I get really fed up and I'm like, I need a day from this, I can't. Even if I try and take a moment away from it, it'll only be an hour and my mind will go straight back to it, because everything else is pointless. Let's say I want to watch a movie and I lose 2 hours to a movie, but I could be working heavily on a chapter and maybe getting that done within 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4. But usually it's a couple of hours, to be totally honest, 2 or 3 hours. Of course, first concept when I'm working on it. But every time I go to do something, it's just, well, you could do that. So let's say I've done 2 chapters in a day, and I'm thinking that's enough today. Don't need 3 really. You could have 3, and if you get 3 done today and you do 3 tomorrow, all of a sudden you're sort of like doing the maths, thinking, well, we can get it done quicker. Why wouldn't you want it done quicker? Why would you want to just sit there for 2 hours and consume something else and not be productive? I want to have fun. But you can have, this is how my mind works. So like I'm talking to myself, but it's like how my mind works internally. It's, you can stagger something and it'll get done over a longer period of time. But the problem is it's always weighing on your conscience. Or you can just sacrifice for a period and it's intense as hell, and you're not going to have much joy beyond doing it, which is nice when you're crafting it, but you're not going to have a lot of fun, if you like. But when it's done, you're free to have fun. You know, there's nothing nagging at your head. So as soon as this was finished, believe me, I just thought, oh, wow, I can actually enjoy myself. I didn't even know what to do myself. And I just thought, well, we've still got 2 other books for the rest of the year. The next one's July. You could switch off until then, or you can just work a little bit here, a little bit there. And then when July comes, it's all easier to do because you've done a lot of the work. So that's because I'm in processing mode now, writing. That's kind of where my head's at. And it's like, but you need to switch off for a bit because you can get burnt out with this stuff, you know? So I thought I'd be quite transparent with this video, because I am transparent in everything I do, but I just thought anyone that's interested in writing books, creating these things, I thought it might be nice just to go a little bit, you know, just talk about the concept really, and maybe how I come to decide things. For instance, the title of the book, I was so happy with the title of the book. It threw me through a loop, believe me, because if you look at the titles at the bottom here of my other books, they follow a pattern in terms of the way they say. There's always like "your" in the middle, like second word, like usually "your," and then it always ends with "soul." So if you actually look, there's a pattern, and it's really hard to keep that pattern going. In your head, you're thinking, what can I make? And it has to obviously relate to the content of the book. And all the books, for instance, it's not like they're so different from each other. But I do feel it's almost like layered. You know, there's another layer to this, there's another layer to that. I've got something else to say on this. But they all started with something. Find Your Peace to Save Your Soul. I forgot the name, right? I'm getting lost now. There's so many of them. But Find Your Peace to Save Your Soul really come from me being so fed up with the hate in the world. I'm pretty sure it was that one that really bothered me, that there's so much hate. So the first few chapters of that, they're a bit similar to each other. I thought about re-editing it and removing chapters, but then it's removing content. And it's like other people already have the book, so it's stupid to go and do that now. But I would argue the first 3 chapters are quite similar to each other. But when I was writing that book specifically, it was done on purpose. Normally, I wouldn't do that. Normally, I wouldn't want it to be so similar to that depth. But it was because I wanted to ingrain it in people so much. By the time they got through the very beginning of the book, even just the first section, it's already empowered them. Do not let bullies diminish your version of yourself, because that's when you just lose all sense of reality. It just chips at your character. And I've really wanted that ingrained in people, that by the time they get past that, they're already feeling like, you know what, I'm worth something here. And I think that's so important. So like all the books, for instance, had a reason for its conception. Losing Mind to Find Your Soul, Spiritual was my spiritual experience. I shared that. I was so excited to share like what I'm experiencing. Father's Daughter was me going through family court, parental alienation, and dealing with the worst trauma of my life. And then A Heartbroken Daughter was because so many people, it picked up traction at the beginning, but then I delisted it because it's such a personal story. Then I reactivated it again, but when I reactivated it, it lost momentum. But that book could have took off. But a lot of people, there's a lot of people, not just a few, they wanted to know what happens next, even if they already knew because they were in talking to me. They wanted to hear it in a book. So I did that one. And I would argue that's the only book that really they're the only 2 books that should be read in sequence. The others you can read how you want. Of course, if I'm reading them back, I tend to go from the first book I ever wrote, and because it shows progression. But those 2, yeah. But you could pick up A Heartbroken Daughter and be fine without the first one, because I did do like a monologue at the beginning, or an epilogue, just to show the sequence of events that got us to this moment, to fast forward for people. But I think you lose a lot if you don't read the first book. The other ones, though, you could literally pick up whichever one takes your fancy. But I don't feel any weaker than the other. They'll have specific chapters that I absolutely love, But yeah, so how did this one come? This one come from me wanting to help people. Like, see, other ones would do with bullying. Like, there's a lot of hate at the beginning. That's what I was trying to get through to people. With this one specifically, it was like everything's layers, I've already got, there's usually content that didn't quite make that book, and there's usually content that's left over or something else I'm talking about. But one thing that really bothers me at the moment is people taking their lives because life's heavy. Now, it could be that you look at your own life and you just think it's not worth it. Like, everything I do doesn't work. I'm no good to anyone. There is that side of it where you can literally feel deflated, especially if your finances are bad. I get it. It's hard, man. But all the moments in our life are temporary. So I see it as chapters. And it might not seem fair, but there's a lesson in it. So it's important that we just get through the lesson, figure a way out of it as quick as possible without doing anything to yourself. And then you get to experience the next chapter. That's really important for people. The other side of it is there's an awful lot in society where people, so that was an external pressure from ourselves. That's bad enough. You carry that with you. And then it doesn't help when you meet people in society who tell you you're crap. Look, I've had this myself, so where people do this. So I know what it feels like when you're in a relationship or coming towards the end of a relationship, or it's actually ended, and the person tries to destroy your character. Not only do they try to accuse you of anything, like in terms of like things that maybe you've done in a relationship that didn't happen, but it suits their agenda. I don't want to go into that. But maybe you leave the relationship. Maybe they're on their high horse. You should be providing for us. You should be doing this. You're worthless. It's not bad. It's bad enough you're thinking that of yourself already. Like, I'm not where I want to be. And then they're telling you and maybe the whole world that you're not supporting, you're not doing this, you're not stepping up. You can't. People need a break. Just because someone expects something of someone doesn't mean you have to fit the mold. And that weighs on me a lot. That the idea that if I can help save just one life, I've wrote that somewhere in this book. I think it was. I'm going to read the author's note in a moment because I think I'll share that side of it, and I think it might be in that. That even if I help just one person, it was worth me taking the time to write this book. And I'm not saying that for effect. If it helps just one person, then me taking a period of my life to write that, then it's worth it. I even make a point that even if I'm the only one that reads it, I'm proud. But that's the whole point, So that's really where it goes. And then it takes it's really about empowerment. That's what I think. The whole way I think about this book, there's a chapter on strength. There is going through childhood trauma. I address a situation. There's a specific part of this book that's going to, in all honesty, it's going to piss some people off. And I often find there's certain areas that it's hard to find a balanced fair, if you like. Unless you're going to take on tough challenges, you're never going to realize how hard it is to take a neutral path. So we're naturally going to talk from either experience, like our perceptions of things. Like, for instance, it's hard for me to talk about a woman's experience as a male. I understand a woman's experience, but I'm going to be able to go far more detail as a male because it's the experience I have, if that makes sense. So there is a chapter specifically, and it's quite a deep chapter. It goes on quite a long time. Like, it's a bigger chapter in the whole book. It's about 5,500 words, so it covers a huge section. Within that, I quote a couple of videos I've seen, and so to give it balance. And it was about because I've seen a lot of women right now. Like, I'm seeing a lot of women. I've seen men too, and it pisses me off both sides. Believe that. That's where I keep trying to stem it in the book. I'm trying to find balance to show, look, I'm not freaking sexist. I don't go around just attacking a gender. But when I see a gender being attacked, I have to talk on it. And I'm seeing it too often here, where women are saying, what do we need men for? And then they're saying we should have less men in the world. And then we're saying, fathers are useless. It's just constant berating of males, And I know there's men that do it to women as well. And I have to balance that in the book. And I do say that. And I do share an example of my impartiality to a degree. But then I also am fair to say, look, there's a level of bias in my experience. But I can't just, in my own conscience, I can't not talk about it. So I know that's a topic that's going to be very challenging, and it's going to cause some shit probably. But I'm not going to sit there and just pretend it don't exist and then ignore that topic. So that one is going to be maybe one where people maybe get to that point and it might trigger them, but then just either skip it, which I don't think people would do, or just go in with a balanced mind. Really, this is understanding that I'm not trying to attack women. I'm just drawing attention to a circumstance. In the same way, I do make point that for every argument again, like where a woman's at fault, there's an example of a male too. And I can't flood a whole book with two perspectives. It's just stupid. Like, if I've already done 5,500 words covering a specific situation, there's no way we're going to extend that to 10,000 just to provide two. It's just stupid. So that's really where that one goes there. But it goes further into life. It's not about just attacking people or anything like that. Yeah, and then when it was, look, I've took a few chapters out that I was working on, and I just thought, to be honest, I don't think we need it. It gives me an extra workload, and I weren't. In all honesty, I felt like I've done what I wanted to do with the book. I was happy. And I thought, I've still got like 5 left, I think it was, or something. And I'd already took some out that I felt were unnecessary. And I looked and just thought, at the moment, I don't think this is needed. There was a couple on finances and things like that. And I just thought, I don't see how that's needed in this book right now. And so that's, if we take responsibility of our work, of course, you want the best quality you can give, and you think it's got to be value to someone. So the whole point of this one is to give people hope. And it is follow your dreams. And it's like, add that dash of sparkle, to your soul, to give it that spark, to just reignite ourselves. And it is follow your dreams. It's literally follow your passions. And it's that even if life's hard and it feels like it's not fair, you're better off investing in yourself than follow the status quo and the rat race that other people are following. Because there's always be pressure on you to be an example of what someone wants you to be. But you follow that path long enough, you don't even realize who you are, and the life you've built isn't even something you're proud of, So it's kind of, what's the point? Just focus on what you actually want to curate, accept that it's challenging in the moment. Okay, that's the consequence. And then see where it leads you in the future. But at least you've given yourself a chance at something great. That's how I see it. But yeah, so I had when I was working on the manuscript. So I work on 2 different things. I'll share a little bit here. This is me just suggesting that I've done it. I use a software called Scrivener. Writers will know what that is. Now, people can use what you want. You can use Microsoft Word. I don't like Microsoft Word because it tends to, it moves all over the place, doesn't it? I mean, you start editing something, it throws chapters all over. It just causes havoc. So this is just a way to just switch off and focus. You can move chapter titles around. I don't even use it to its full capability, but it's great. Then when you're finished, you can extract it and make it as customized as you want to a Word format. So then you can open Microsoft Word and you can format into the manuscript into the physical part of a book. So that's how I do my book. And then I put it into, I think I should have it here. So I put it into Word. This is the draft of the like a proof from Amazon. So you submit the thing, and then they can give you a proof of it as well. So it's just a different way to look at it. So I put it into Word, and it says it wants to change Sparkle to Spark. I'm like, but I don't want Spark. I want Sparkle. So maybe I literally sat there for about a minute. Probably less. I don't know. But it did weigh on me. Is Sparkle better than Spark? Because you can change it now, and you can just leave it. You can change it quite easily. I can go back and change the cover design. It's not going to adjust it that much. It's not going to make a difference. I can change the title here, and it's simple. Follow your dreams to spark your style. You could have that, but I like Sparkle. So sitting again, I don't care what the word checker wants to call it. I want Sparkle. And that was personal choice for me. I just wanted Sparkle, and I'm like, I'm having Sparkle. Anyway, I just thought that was, people might not that interested, I don't know. But to me, it was me being stubborn and saying, I don't care how easy it is to say Spark compared to Sparkle. We're going with Sparkle. I've chose this cover the way I've done it, and that's how it is. Yeah, anyway. So like I say, look, something crossed my mind to say, look, I could have had, when do you ever say enough's enough for a book? This is 300 pages, or actually I think it's about 330, but it's only recognises, if you go through the table of contents, for instance, it goes up to 303. And it depends how long that part is as well. But of course, all these pages here don't count towards that part, but the overall count it does. But this crossed my mind because I'm always someone who thinks, it'd be cool to write a book that's so thick, like really, really thick book. But what is the benefit of that? First of all, most audiences get overwhelmed if you give them too much. Because I've got some, I have some books in my collection. And realistically, the ones that are incredibly thick, I don't think I've even read. Like I've got The Stand, I think it's The Stand from Stephen King. That's thick. I've got It from Stephen King. I haven't even read all that. I've only read the very beginning of it. I do intend to do it one day when but again, that's going to take a commitment for me to actually sit down and be able to read that book in over a period. It is a commitment, isn't it? And obviously, I've got other books that are thick, but realistically, it's the normal books, the normal size books that I'm going to read because they're manageable. I can get through it. So if you just look at this one, Find Your Peace to Save Your Soul. It's the same size as that, roughly. Realistically, it's about the same size as that, which I think is fine. It's good. That's a good size. That's not cheaping out. It's not small. It's good. So I could have sat there and given it another 2 weeks. I could have doubled the size, potentially. But it would have gone off course. It'd be different topics. I think it'd lose maybe the intensity of what I want to say. So I'm hoping when people finish this book, it helps them. It really invigorates them, really want to fight for their life. Go after it. That's what I want. So what I don't want to do is send them on a different path. By the time they get to the end, you forgot the beginning and all this stuff. There's another side, of course, that because it all merges into one. I could do a 300-page book like I've done, or I could do a 500-page book. But if you think about it, 500-page, 300-page, probably not. It doesn't seem much different in terms of like what you're presenting to someone. But for an extra 100 words, you can have 2 books. If you're in the business of trying to make money, you want to be able to make money off what you do. It'd be illogical to do a 500-page. Like I think I see that with novels as well. I see people do these massive books. I just think you're alienating yourself from potential like profit and like potential because it doesn't make sense. The more pages you have, the more print costs. So, for instance, if I sell it on Amazon, you give them the price you want. They deduct the print costs and any royalty they receive because it's split. I think it's like 40% or 30% to them. I can't remember. But anyway, because of and plus the print, So let's say, like, for instance, this book I've listed $14.99. I don't want to go. I've listed them higher in the past, but I don't want to be like that. But I do have a level that I would expect because I don't expect to sell loads of copies at once. If it was selling like crazy, then you could say I can take less because. But if you're not going to sell a lot, I'm not going to make anything. It's just going to be like negligible amounts of money. Maybe it buys you a McDonald's. It's not really fair, So you have to find a balance. But I've listed it for £14.99. I'm transparent with things like this, I'll tell you differences here. I've listed it for £14.99. For that, I get £4.73 in return. People might think that's a lot. I think it's fair. It is a lot. It's a good amount of money. Why shouldn't I get that for it? It's therapy for people. I'm not here to justify. I'm just saying that's what I get with it. If I thought I was going to sell millions of copies, yeah, I could list it lower, couldn't I? But you can't guarantee that. And if I list it any lower and I only sell a few copies, what's it going to do? Buys me coffee, you know? It's just the effort I put in. I think it's worth more than a coffee. I know people look at the outcome, the final cost they pay, and I get it. But I have to look at how it affects my life too, you know? So anyway, for me to list for £14.99, I get, if I'm remembering, £4.73. I think it's something like that. For an extra pound, so if I list it for £15.99, which I was tempted to do, by the way, it went to £5.30, I think, or something like that. So it's about 60 pence difference between the pound. And I just thought it's fair to split it. Like, I'll go with the £14.99. It's fair for everyone else. It's not a huge difference for me. Like, and again, that's how you come up with the costs. If I did a 500-page book, to get the money that I'm getting now, rather than list for £14.99, I'll probably have to list it for £18.99. So people would be paying more anyway, because you're paying for the paper, the print as well, like the ink and stuff. So if when you talk about like the economics of it, it makes sense to me to release a book that's 300 pages. We can do it at a fair price. I think it's reasonable, it's manageable, and if I've got more content and it equates for a whole nother book, then I can work on that later. And I just think that's better. Anyway, so that's how I come up with that, really. Hopefully I've covered this a lot. This isn't going to be a really long video. I never planned to. I just thought, really, I just wanted to talk about the title. The fact that I come up with this title, it threw me for a loop. I will say something about this is I had about 6 different cover designs. I could show those, actually, if anyone's interested in that. Let me just pause it so I can find these up. This might be interesting to people. Right, I think we're back. I'll have to press pause so I can get it up. But anyway, so I come up with about 5 mock-ups. I couldn't decide. There was one I actually liked where I tilted the yaw. It's the first time I've played it, because you're always trying to make things better than the last. You're trying to find ways to make it cool, or make it impact and give it identity, I guess. So I ran them past my daughter and I let her pick. So she's literally, out of the 5, she's the one that picked the cover design. There was one I thought, I'd like this one. She goes, do that then. I go, nah, I'll go with you. So she picked the cover out of the ones I created, the mock-up. So this is one I come up with. I think that if you look, the Dreams, I think, is tilting slightly. I hadn't done any colour additions. I could obviously do the colours after, but yeah, the Dreams was slightly bent, whereas it's straight now. All of it's straight now, by the way. Oh, wait a minute. Got to cut back down. Now we straightened it up. Yeah, so we got there. It was bent, and then we straightened it up, but there was no colour. Let's just keep it white, which I think is a bit boring, but we could do. Then we coloured it, which is the one she went with. So there you go. There's the variances. They're not massive, are they? But they're just little differences. What would look better? Then I went with this one, which is a bit more like my previous book's design. So you've got to find your piece to save your soul. In the end, we've gone with one that's a bit more like the inspire your mind to enlighten your soul. As you can see, that's kind of the model we went on. So it was either go with the model of that one or the model of this one. I like the colour differences I did with this, but I don't know. This one had more impact. So anyway, that literally could have been this. It could have easily been this one. I think this is the one I was favouring. I can't remember now. And it was just changing around. What way do you want? What way do we go with the colours? I think realistically, I probably would have gone with that one because I think the white pops in that instance. But I did do one where the yaw bent as well, but I haven't got the copy here. Must not have. I don't know if that one's bending. Is that one bending? I don't know. It would have been more than that. Anyway, yeah, I haven't got a mock-up of the yaw bending anyway. But you can see the variances that I went with. So it wasn't just a case of, just decide on that. I had to cover a few. And like I say, she's the one that chose this one. And I just thought, yeah, we'll do that. And then she always knows that she created the cover effectively. She chose it. Anyway, hopefully that's interesting to people. So we come off that one. We've already covered the Scrivener. We've got that. I've been updating my website. If anyone's looked, which I doubt they have, I've been going through regularly every day saying, about a week ago, I put, I'm 50% done. So it's making huge progress. And I think it was like 2 or 3 days later, I'm saying 80% done. It was like, well, how the hell you get? But that's how mental I am, I'm doing like crazy amounts in a day. I'm starting day, and it's going through tonight. There was one instance where I was typing away. I was just in my own little world. Looked up in the UK, it gets dark about 4 p.m. or something stupid, 4:30. I can't remember. But I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden I was sitting in pitch black in the room. I was like, holy shit. I didn't even realize. And yesterday, when I submitted the manuscript to Amazon to adapt it into the format for a book, I lost the whole day to that. I started about 11 a.m. or something. I was just, because I have to find, when I do this, this ain't as simple as people think. The formatting inside the books, they are consistent across all my books. So I have very specific margin sizes, line spacing, font types, font sizes. They are all, if you actually look, there's consistency across all of them. And it's not by chance. And it's by no accident, that's for sure. So I have to, what I do, I open up the original manuscript on Word, exactly how it was as I published it. Then I get my new manuscript, which is completely different because Scrivener does a different page sizes. So I have to go and change that. It gives me different margins, spacing, font. That all has to be adapted, and it takes time because, again, we want consistency, and it has to flow throughout the book. If something's off, it needs fixing. Even something as simple as the header of the page. I like to have my name and the title of the book at the top. Hasn't happened in every book, but I do like it, and sometimes I forget. I think one or two I might have forgot. Let me have a look. Yeah, Inspire Your Mind to Enlighten Your Soul doesn't have it. This one does have it. If I can show an example. Okay. And Heal Your Mind to Free Your Soul doesn't have it. It may very well be specific to this one because I might have just decided on it. As you can see there, I don't know if I can show it actually. You probably can't see it. But anyway, at the top, you've got my name, and then you've got the title of the book. Might have it the right way around. But I think that's cool. Just a little, again, these are just little tweaks to make things a little bit better. So anyway, yeah, I have to sit there and I have to tweak these bloody manuscripts. It drives me crazy. And even as someone who knows what they're doing, because this is my 7th book, it gives me a headache. I just know naturally what I've got to go and do now. Like, for instance, to do a table of contents, didn't know this at the start when I first started my books. My very first books, I literally wrote the table of contents myself. I typed it up and it was a little bit disjointed, but I did the best I could manually. I didn't even know you could automate a table of contents. I'm just saying. So my software doesn't, when you get my titles, for instance, on the pages, when we get the titles, let me see if I've got a title. So when we get our titles on the pages, this here is just text. It's not actually assigned to anything, like when I put it on Word. But I have to literally go to the top of Word and turn that into a heading. And that then adjusts the font size, the type, the style, all of it. And I have to literally go through every single one manually. So I have to edit the page. I have to make sure everything's right. Then I have to go and change the font type. You can't even change the font type, actually, because if you change the font type and then click heading, guess what? Defaults it to whatever the heading is. Oh. Now, there's probably a way to default that heading style. I just don't know how to do it. And that would obviously help with all the other headings, because then I would just press heading. So maybe there's a way to do that. I didn't even think to logicize that. I didn't even think to do that. There you go. So I'm sitting there manually, one at a time. After I've done all the sizing and everything for the stuff, I then have to go through every single beginning of a chapter, choose the title, then go over to the top of Word, do heading. Then I have to go and change it to the font I want and the size of it I want. And in the past, it used to make it blue. It hasn't done that now. It's kept it black. But I used to have to go and change the color back to black. I guess that's one chapter. Let's go back and do the next chapter. You're like, God damn. Why? Because by doing that, you can then go over to, you can go and create a blank page on your manuscript at the beginning. And then you can go into I think it's under, I know exactly what it is when I'm looking at it. I don't know if it's references or something. There's something at the top of Word. There's a tab. And then over to the far left of that tab, of that section, is table of contents. And you can literally automate. You can choose the style you want. But it's all propagated by heading. So if you've labeled any text heading, that will come up in the list. If you don't and you forget even just one, doesn't make the table of contents. And then later on, let's say you mess about changing some things, you can then update the fields. You can either go get it to update all of the headings again to make sure they're all there. Or if you know you haven't changed any of them and you've just moved some text around, done some little bit more editing, fine tuning, you could just get it to update the page count, the page numbers. So it's all cool little tricks, but it's time consuming, you know? So I've sat there from 11 o'clock and I'm creating the cover design as well. But by the way, I only had this front. If you do a digital one, it's great. but we need a side, we need the spine to the book, and we need the back as well. So all yesterday, Saturday, I had to sit there and bouncing between Word and going, wait a minute, I've still got to do I'm not all over the place, but it's in a manageable way, you know. So I'm coming up with the cover, I'm doing the back cover, doing the spine, in fact, I was using the Photoshop, what do you call it, file for this, and then I literally just made sure it matched thingy. So I was using the original. So for instance, I would use the text of this, and I would just retype the text again, and then I would just change the colors to match this one, for instance. And then like the back where I've got my image and I've got this, I've done very similar on the new book, and it was just a case of just dragging them out, like making sure they go on this one. If you've already done something, it's easier to make it because you can just use original pieces. You know, it just makes the process simpler. It's just easier as you go. You know, but again, like I said, I started at about 11 a.m. and I think I got to like 7 p.m., 7:30, and I thought, bloody hell, because you get so zoned in. You know, that's all I was doing, was working on the book to make it an actual a physical book, to do it within the manuscript. So 7 p.m. I've not had lunch. I've not had dinner. I've not been doing it. I've just been stuck here, man. I might have got up to make a drink randomly at a reasonably at a normal time and just, you know, and then sat down again. But that was like when it was daylight. But yeah, anyway, so you just get a deer in the headlights, you know, you just go freaking mental. Anyway, so if I just showcase some of this, we will share some of the author's note. Hopefully it'd be interesting to people. But yeah, if anyone thinks because you do something fast, the quality's not good enough or you've rushed it, that's not the case at all. I'm just freaking mental, case. I really am. I can't. It's just the way my mind works. If I can't have things, I see it as searing into my soul. It's almost like you've got something that's burning into your soul. That's what it feels like, burning into my blinging brain. And until I let it out, it just keeps bothering me. So for instance, if I want to go and watch a movie, like I said before, I can't do it. I literally can't do it because my head's saying, just get the chapter done. Yeah, but I'm exhausted and I don't want to keep doing that. Do another chapter, get through it quicker, you know. You can live free, do what you want. Free, do what you want. Oh my God. And that's literally what I'm like. It's just a mental case like that, you know. So really, what have I been doing to do this? If you just, like, I listen to country music, very soft country music. It can't be something that's pounding into my head. Because, like, for instance, I hate noise. I get fed up anyway. I want to be in my own little bubble and I just want to concentrate. So I turn the volume really low so it's not interfering, but it's enough to not be, you know, you're not hearing anything else. And it's more, if anyone knows music, I'm really mainly listening to Don Williams because he's very calm, he's got a beautiful tone. And Alan Jackson. Now, Alan Jackson has two styles. He has country, very authentic country music. He has this, what he calls honky tonk, which is a bit more, you could call it fun, but I call it more of a dance country. I don't like it, personally. I mean, he enjoys it. I've seen him do it live. I don't like it at all. And I just think it throws you off from one side of his music to the other. I wish he'd segregate it. So what I've done is, I know his songs, and if one's that honky tonk style, I just don't have it on my collection. So I've literally made a curated collection of Alan Jackson, which I love, absolutely love Alan Jackson, and Don Williams, and that's what I'll listen to when I'm doing that. And then when I'm not doing that and I'm just messing about, trying to relax, you know, I've put a dartboard up in my kitchen now. If I'm making a hot drink or I'm just trying to relax between it, I've got big NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. You know, I don't try to be cool, man. I've got all sorts. I was listening to Queen the other day. I like all different styles of music, but I love Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. I've got that bouncing through my head, and I'm just dancing around the kitchen. Like, well, yeah. So people probably think, you know, I'm serious all the time. I'm serious and focused when I have to be, but there is a silly side to me, and there's a light side where I'm just free, you know. And I'll just go with the feeling. Anyway, hopefully this has been of interest to people. Like I say, I don't want to ramble because I know it's getting longer than I thought. I literally thought we'd do a 5-10 minute video at the most. Probably won't even be long. What can you talk about? Without giving too much away. But like I say, it's done now. I mean, we'll refresh. We can refresh here. No, it's not out yet. So if it comes out, it's sometimes they say segregate. So sometimes they're not the same. Yeah, sometimes when you release a book initially, they don't always link them together. I've had that in the past, where they release a paperback and they release a Kindle, and they'll have two separate shop listings. and it's only after a few days sometimes they merge. I'm hoping that's not the case here. Hopefully they will just naturally go on the same store page. Now, it might not seem a thing, but when you see it, it will blow your mind. You'll think, well, there's two listings. But sometimes that's how it works. We could go on my author page. I'm not sure what's going to come up on here, to be honest. I haven't been on it for ages. It says 11 titles because I've got some I did in the past. Like I did one here where I merged 3 books together. It was a poor decision. And a couple here, I made this title. I didn't like it in the end. So that was never a book. It just, Amazon won't take it down. But anyway, it's pretty cool to have a collection of books, isn't it? Like I think it's pretty amazing. And I'm proud. And there's obviously more to come too. So anyway, that's an example of that. We've done this. We've got the storefront. Got what I've been constantly updating my webpage. So it's going to be cool when I get a copy of the book. But my finances are so tight at the moment, I can't even get the book when it comes out. That is irritating me beyond belief. Because I think it'll release Monday or Tuesday. It could be later today, but I think Monday or Tuesday, and I won't have any money to be able to buy it until Friday at the earliest. Potentially. So there's going to be a window of potentially 5 days where I can't even put an order in for myself. And like, for instance, you can, as an author, I can get cheaper copies. So if I wanted to buy 5 copies, it would be a lot better for me to do an author copy section from Amazon. You can get it in like bulk. It's just the price of postage goes up a little bit. You can't use Prime, but you get the books at a reduced rate at print cost, pretty much. And that's a good way. But I've done it in the past, but I don't need loads of copies at home. And it takes longer to arrive. Whereas if I buy it the same way everybody else buys it, like let's say, for instance, it's £14.99. Let's say I buy it for myself. Just buy it from the store, £14.99. It just means that obviously I lose the 14 quid just like everyone, £15, just like everybody else. But I'll get my royalty back when the time comes in 2 months. It takes about 2 months. So that £4.73 or whatever it is, I'll get that back because that's my royalty for the book. You know, you've paid. Amazon don't get the money. It's not Amazon's book. Amazon will get their print cost and they'll get their portion and I'll get my portion. So even if I buy it from Amazon, I'm getting my portion back, aren't I? Because it's not Amazon's free stock here. They have to, you know what I mean? I created it. If that makes sense. So, like, for instance, I could get an author copy for maybe £6. Let's say it's £6 by the time you do delivery. Well, it's only going to cost me it's going to cost me £10 overall because I'll get the difference back later. So it probably makes more sense just to, say probably. If you buy 1 copy, I might also just buy it like everyone else. Of course, I could manipulate the market in the sense, if I choose to, I could drop the price down as low as it goes without royalties, and I can get it sent that way. But then there's a risk that Amazon take too long to put the price back up after, because it can take up to 24 hours when they do changes. So people could then jump in and get it really cheap, which, you know, if anything, you might think, oh, who cares? So I don't know. It's unlikely I'll do that, though, because I just think the hassle of it all is remembering to put it back up and all that stuff. You know? Anyway, hopefully I've covered enough. I think this will do more of the talking now. Let's have a look at the actual book. Should we probably move this? I can't move that one over anymore. We don't really need to worry about it. But I'd rather not have that there now. Let me just get rid of this image. Do me a in. Let's get rid of it. Right. So this is the cover. Look, follow your dreams to sparkle your soul. Then you've got my name. Then we've got like copyright information there. Then just talking about the fact that, you know, we've got different books in my collection. And then for me, forever, my inspiration. Usually I put for humanity, but I dedicated someone specific now, my daughter. I thought I'd give it, you know, for her. So then we got obviously the table of contents, which I've discussed how we created that. This I've actually changed, I believe. I think I've changed that now. Where it says contents, I'm pretty sure I changed it to table of contents and made it central. So that's different now to this copy. It's going to be different to this because now it says table of contents there. Yeah, author's note. So what I like to do with all my books is I like the chapters to be on the right-hand side. I hate chapters being on the left. When I read books, it annoys me. I always feel the chapter should end on the left and the new one should always begin on the right. And that's just something with me. I don't like it when Stephen King puts his in the middle of a bloody chapter, in the middle of a page up anywhere. And I can't handle that. That's stupid. Just, yeah, I'm very structured. It has to be on the right-hand side. So anyway, let me just have a little bit of my coffee because my mouth's dry as shit. That didn't help. That didn't help, but whatever. Right, okay. So how many pages? Okay, ain't that long. It's long enough. think, to be honest, if we're talking about paid up word count, I think it's about 1,100 words or something, my author's note. Right. I know this book can help people process and come to terms with life, from frustrations and even trauma to thriving and being free from the past. Life has a habit of challenging everyone, including myself. Success requires sustained progress, and when we invest in ourselves, it's only natural to expect steady growth. But in my case, when it comes to rewards, that's rarely been the case. However, in terms of personal growth, I'm always elevating. So success can be measured by specific metrics such as fame and wealth, personal growth and accomplishments, or perhaps even both. Personally, I feel I've achieved personal growth and accomplished a lot. And whilst fame doesn't interest me, even a small financial improvement eludes me, which bothers me immensely considering the time and sacrifice I've put into all my projects. To sacrifice so much and still struggle in an area that significantly affects our quality of life feels personal. Of course, no one can be blamed for hardships, though there may be contributing factors. Something I won't forget is the lack of support for my efforts for most of the people I know. It's important to recognise who supports and who anchors us so as not to hinder growth and progress. I find that regardless of what I do or where I place my time and energy, success rarely follows. I often sacrifice time to exhaustion, juggling jobs whilst wanting to prioritise personal projects and other interests. Other times, I suffer through financial instability, leaving jobs I've outgrown, working tirelessly to pursue my interests, achieve personal goals, and take significant time to help inspire others towards a better life. Yet I seem to get left behind, never succeeding beyond being proud of my accomplishments. Meanwhile, life doesn't wait for success to follow. Bills mount, time passes by, and it feels like significant parts of life gets missed, from holidays to experiences, because although money isn't the answer to everything, it is required for some things. With this book and the few that will follow, they came close. No, with this book and the few that will follow, they came close to never being finished. I don't write this or share for pity, but to show people that whilst we may not attain the results we hoped for or expected, that doesn't mean continuing to invest in ourselves and follow our passions isn't worthwhile. Sometimes we need to alter expectations and adjust the reasons for creating or doing things. Of course, I want my life to improve. However, holding back something that could help people or not investing time in it wouldn't be fair or proportionate to the suffering. People need help, and sacrificing here and there is worth the price of losing time to other things. Whilst perhaps unjust, I can handle having little and giving a lot. Ultimately, it goes beyond traditional ways of thinking or following the rat race to acquire wealth at any cost. The pursuit of fortune can distract us from contributing towards impactful change. Regardless of whether life is long or short, what we do with the time we have matters. And while it's fair to seek positive experiences, it's equally, or even more crucial, to invest meaningful time into our personal growth, to evolve into our best selves, and even perhaps support others to do similarly. So there's a balance to be struck between seeking more and accepting ourselves as we are. I may not have all I wish for, but in myself I couldn't wish for more. And that says a lot, as there are many people who have some of the things I don't have, who are lost, struggling to find purpose, don't like or respect themselves or others. So they're frustrated with significantly healthier finances than me, and yet I wouldn't wish to trade places with them. And I think that says everything about the benefit of healing and investing in ourselves, even at the expense of missing out on money. Although I have my challenges, I know others suffer too. And whilst I have low days and lack motivation at times, the will to give people hope and positive direction supersedes everything. And so I hope this book brings healing to those ready to invest in themselves. I never regret anything. So even if this only helps one person, the time and sacrifice was worth it. And even if it so happens to be that I end up the only one reading my words, I'll be proud that I at least tried to contribute something positive towards humanity. And at the very least, it adds a 7th book to my collection. Perhaps not the most inspiring introduction, but I wanted to be open and transparent as I always am, hoping it will inspire others to self-reflect and not give up on their goals and dreams. After all, whilst money can help in many ways and has a significant impact on our lives, it can also be a distraction and a curse. Timing is everything. We need to find deeper meanings to our lives than merely superficial gains. On a personal level, I've achieved something money can't buy, which only I could create because it came from me, which makes this priceless, worth more to me than money or recognition, and hopefully others can find the spark in themselves to pursue their interests too. People probably don't realize the stress and pressure that comes from writing a book. One of the worst for me is the pressure of writing a chapter I consider perfect and having to either match or exceed it, which can lead to procrastination. It can feel like an impossible challenge, much like music artists who release albums with 3 hits, and the rest of the songs don't quite hit the same, while some artists somehow create 1 hit after another, culminating in an impressive album. Perhaps they make it look easy, but it's far from it. In some instances, they have other writers contributing lyrics, but in my case, I'm the only one writing this book, and I hope I've done it justice. When projects are completed, I'm always pleasantly surprised by the outcome and proud of what I accomplished. Back in 2020, I was about to release my second book, A Heartbroken Daughter, and came across a writing community on social media. A few authors had released 6 to 10 books, which to me was surreal. I couldn't imagine being that consistent across time, writing quality and content to develop a concept for more books, yet here I am. A few years later, with my 7th, I've now joined those very people with a collection of my own, which not too long ago seemed almost impossible. Hopefully, my journey provides hope and potential for others to reach seemingly impossible targets. Time, consistency, focus, and discipline can do remarkable things. It all comes down to how much we want to achieve and the effort we are willing to put in to accomplish the goal. Anything is possible if our efforts match our dreams. Now, I am someone who tends to want to just keep reading, so I have to stop myself. Otherwise, what's the point? But yeah, so like I say, it's been submitted. I expect Amazon to give me feedback at some point soon. Because look, it doesn't always go through. You might think it's gone through fine. It went through with the Kindle. Kindle copy and the paperback, totally different things. You know, the Kindle doesn't have to worry about formatting issues. It doesn't have to worry about words spilling off the page. And there's so many things that can go wrong. Even something as simple as the internal margin, you know, the gap when you turn the page, and let's say you get to the middle of the book and the pages get thicker and thicker. If you haven't done the central margin properly, the words might get stuck. You might struggle to. You have to keep trying to bend the book more. You know, I've had that before, and it's frustrating when that happens. So you have to find the right. That's why I match exactly what I did before, because I know the numbers that work, at least for me, and the spacings that I use. And so I don't expect that issue, but other people would likely get sent their manuscript back to say, "Oh, fix that." And Amazon are strict like that. So it's the same if you do an audiobook and you submit to Audible. They're very, very strict on sound, not sound quality, sound spacing. They don't like big gaps. I think like 1 second gap they don't like more than 1 second, which I always feel forces you to talk fast because you're having to cut bits and it doesn't give you enough space between sentences. And if someone talks slow, they're screwed. You know, and it's just crazy to me that rule personally, but they see it as wasted space. So the sound quality has to be right. You have to get the spacing, timing right. Especially the very first part of it, I don't think they let you go more than a second before you speak on the opening of a chapter. And the tone has to be to a certain level, like the volume has to be to a certain level. So you have to mess about with gains, compression, all sorts of, there's so much you have to do to get it to the quality that Amazon want for Audible. It absolutely does my head in. So, which is fine when you're in the middle of it and you found that consistency that works. So you will upgrade it, guarantee you'll upload it to Audible. It will get rejected. It will say that they tell you the problem immediately, the automated system, and then you have to fix it. But it's best to stay on doing it there and then while you remember the settings. So if I do any more audiobooks, guess what? I've got to go and find these settings again because I can't even remember. And I've since changed systems. I built a new computer and I haven't got the original. I don't think I've got the original settings used. So I'll have to go through the whole process myself. And I'm not really excited about doing that anytime soon, personally. So that's a whole completely different thing. But it does encompass books, of course, because you can obviously make a book, do the manuscript for a book, then you can send it off to be a digital copy if you choose to, through a Kindle or whatever other avenue you want. And of course, you can then go and record an audio book if you do so, please. Personally, for me, I'm not in a rush to do it because I've got to find those settings. It's a headache. Yeah, I can probably do it in a week, but the amount of to and fro with Audible to get them to approve it, it's just, I'm already tired at the moment from this. I'm not excited. I haven't sold enough audiobooks personally to make it worthwhile going forward, personally, for me. If there's a time when I'm not bored, but I'm thinking, you know what, I've got time for that, I might as well just dedicate a week, fine. If I'm not in a position where I'm really excited about it, I won't, because again, I haven't sold enough audiobooks. So there's no desire for me to push myself at the moment to do that. It's a whole other avenue of hassle. Plus, there's enough. One could argue that I've got enough content out there now. Do I really need? And I think that's a beautiful place to get to. Is when you have options. Like for instance, let's say I thought, I can take this book down because I want to make it better. Or I want to work on this. I want to do an edit of that. I can do that because in terms of, if you're talking about money, there's enough resource there now to make money from all the other works. And so that gets me on to the other thing. I think it's a lot, personally, I think it's a lot easier to sell 3 or 4 books than it is to sell 7 or 6 books plus. Because it's manageable. If you've got 3 or 4 books, it's people, I've had people buy all my books, by the way, and I think that's beautiful when it happens. I just don't have consistency with it. So a lot of time when someone reads one book, they do usually go and read others because I get information. I'll get told, like for instance on the software, it'll tell you on the analytics, if you like, Amazon's analytics. It just tells you what country the person is from. It tells you what format they bought. Is it the paperback? Is it an ebook or whatever? And of course, the date that it was dispatched. They're the information you get. So you do know what country it comes from, where they bought it and things. So it's good, positive information. And because I don't sell loads of copies regularly, it's so sporadic. If I see, like, for instance, one was bought in America and then within a week or around roughly that period or so, another one gets sold in America, but it's a different book. And then maybe a week or 2 goes by and another one gets sold in America, and it's a different book to those 2 in the same country. It kind of like shows a pattern. You're not stupid. If it's not double buying the same book, you kind of following the trail thinking, I think that's someone reading it. And because the sales are not huge at the moment, I actually like to follow it. So let's say someone was to buy Find Your Peace to Save Your Soul. I was doing it recently. I haven't read it all because I was too busy writing. But I've got this far in. Look, I'm already like quite a bit, because I like to do that. I like to think, what is someone reading at the moment? Oh, okay, so someone's actually probably obviously not reading it in tandem at that moment, but it's just if they've bought it, I assume they started reading it, and it's like I wonder what they're reading at the moment. And it's like I'm not doing this to sell books, by the way. That's just what I've been. If I sold loads of copies, I can't keep up like that, of course. But that's literally what I do, and I just start reading, thinking, and then I get it back into my books again, and I think, that's great. I like that. Not building myself up here, I just say that's what I like doing. It's just a personal thing I do. So if someone buys that book, I'm like, I'm reading it. I'll have a read, see what that one was again. Because you do more and more, it's easy to forget. Like I might start thinking, that's not my favorite. This is my favorite book, and then I might go back and read another one. I go, I love that book. I don't know why I keep thinking. Like for instance, if we talk about the one, I don't want to. Because the cover's slightly offset. It's a lot of hassle for me to fix this now because of I don't know if I've lost the original file to create, because I know it's slightly off the cover with the text. It's not a huge deal. It's really where you get this little spine. It's probably not clear. That fold throws off the whole thing. So where it was probably perfect before, because the fold, it just causes mismatch. It's a bit of an issue. But anyway, just because the cover, the text, this title looks smaller than the others, you naturally just think, it's probably not as good. I think that's probably what people think. But then I start reading it, and I'm like, this is bloody awesome, man. I love this book. But even I have a perception of my books, which one's the best one, if I was putting them in order. But it's only when you read them, you go, wow, it's great. Like I always say, this one's got my absolute favourite chapter. I say absolute. I have done good ones since. Because sometimes I read another one and I go, that's great. I'm not doing that to float my boat. It's just, But this children chapter I've always loved, and that's in this specific to this book, of course. And I think that's what it is. They all have a special chapter where you go, "Oh, that was great." There was a point because I've done so much work, and I'm someone who likes to think different to the average person. I don't conform much to tradition. I thought about I could do a greatest hits book. I'm not going to for this reason. I will explain. But I was thinking of like all my favorite chapters across all my books, even if it's like completely different topic of book. So if I love that chapter, I'll put it in. And I was thinking about doing something like that, like a compilation. But I just thought, that'd be stupid. Someone would buy one book with all your favorite chapters. And then that one sells like hotcakes. And you've got all these other books not selling because people have just assumed this is the only one they need. And it's like, oh, that's dumb. That, you know what I mean? So like on the one hand, a greatest hits album could sell well, like if you think of it that way, but it does shoot in the foot with the others. It's the same way you get nowadays, you know. If your musician makes a greatest hits album, it's usually at the end of their cycle, isn't it, when they're not making so much music anymore. And it's a good way to get new sales and get new attention on them. But it's unlikely anyone's going to go back and buy their other albums. It would just be that one album now that sells a lot. But it's usually because they faded off or something. But I think within books, it doesn't really make much sense. I'm not sure we need to cover much else, to be totally honest. Like you can see, I could talk forever. I thought it was going to be like 5-10 minutes. Yeah, but even I say, I don't have I was going to wait until I've got the physical book in my hand, but I didn't see the point, to be totally honest. Like I say, we're just waiting for it to come now. Oh yeah, we can read this little section from the book. I'm not sure at this point whether I've edited this a little bit now since, though. Bear that, you know, I put that there and I've edited and edited it. It's really hard to remember what I've edited because I've fine-tuned. So consider this may have been changed, may not at this point. But this is just like an excerpt from it. So I put, even a single argument over trivial things can be enough to derail us for a period, from a moment to hours, days, weeks, or even months. It's such a waste of time and energy that would be better spent propelling ourselves forward, leaving people to their opinions and frustrations. I've no interest in wasting my life chasing anyone's impressions of me for good or bad. I know who I am. My only intention is to continually grow, evolve, and refine myself from one day to the next. People often have an idea of me, but even if it's correct, it's always an outdated version because I never stay still. I'm comfortable with an agree to disagree approach. I don't need to change a narrative or anyone's perceptions. Even if my life is more challenging as a consequence of others' actions and behaviours, I tackle obstacles to heal myself and grow. So I swiftly overcome anything, moving forward, rarely wasting time looking back, and I would suggest others learn to do the same. It's better to have control over our lives than to try and control others. Happiness isn't found in misery, so the sooner we move on from pain, the better it is for everyone. In the back of my mind while I'm writing it, reading now, I've got other things because my mind goes all over the shop. It really does. I just want to address the fact that, because I actually see it as a positive, and I know some people might look down and they have an opinion of it, but it's like, I don't see it that way at all. Like, for instance, my mum would love to see my books in the shop, and I'm saying to her it's impossible. They would never be in the shops. She can't quite understand that. So when I released A Father's Daughter, it was my first book, my first foray into writing, and I submitted the manuscript, or at least part of it, to, I don't know if it's a writing agent. It's a writing agent, I think it is. Like, I can't remember what you call them now. There's usually middlemen. So you would send it to an agency of people who will make a decision. And then they're usually the people who represent you, and they will try to promote it to the publishing houses. So there's always this process, and it's long-winded. It's just too much for me. Again, AI's figured me out. I'm too impatient for that shit. That process is too old. I don't do well with it. Maybe they say to everybody something positive. I don't know. It was a nice response they gave me, but they said it wouldn't be mainstream. And I understood that because it wasn't mainstream to begin with. It was me telling a personal documentation of what I've been through. And that isn't for everyone. And I understood that. If you're looking for the next Harry Potter, that's not Harry Potter. Do you know what I mean? Like, if that's what the companies want, they were never going to find it in that. And I never wrote it for that. It was never glamorized. It was literally raw. And it's like that's how I want it. I love that book for it. I love the fact you pick it up. It's literally what happened, how it happened. There's no manipulation of the story, of the facts, you know? So that experience, it's not the fact that I feel like, oh, I'm not good enough. It's that I don't really care about others' approval. I don't care for that long-winded process. And I don't have a lot of trust in the establishment, if you like. Like, for instance, let's say someone took one of my books. Let's say someone decided to give me a book contract. And they did it at the beginning, before I had any of these books. Because I know how the industry works, but I'm not stupid. They could give you, let's say they give you £20,000 up front. They say to you, right, this is your upfront costs. And then for every book you sell 20 pence per book. Now, compared to the £4.70 that I get, that's shit. But they can get a lot more eyes on it. So maybe I sell 5 copies. My £4.70 free. Way. I'm lucky to get £25 in a month. If you did that, because I'm not selling enough. But people going into the airport, they're going to shop, the big selling shops they're used to. They're actually looking for this books, and it's literally in their face amongst the others. It literally stands out. All of a sudden, those 20 pences add up. So I get it. It can help. That can help a lot, even at a lower rate. The part that I don't like with a lot of these contracts, because this is where I'm not stupid. If there was ever a deal to be made, it would have to make financial sense to me, but also sense in another way. And this is what I'm going to get at. I've seen it happen to too many authors where they either have to buy themselves out or they have to find a way to just get them to release it, because they don't always. Let's say I'd signed a contract with a publishing house and the deal is for 5 years. Let's say either for political reasons, which is probably what would happen with my work, or for the fact that it doesn't sell enough. They're expecting certain sales. Let's say they're expecting it to do 1 million copies over the next 12 months. And let's say you don't even hit that target. Let's say you sell 200,000 copies. You think, I've done all right, I've done 2,000. It's not enough. That's not the profit margins they were looking for. So now they decide we're not going to print any more copies of these books. What's the point? We've got copies stuck in the warehouse. We're going to have to discount now in the stores. We're not printing anymore. And let's say one day, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, people come across your book and it starts to get more traction, but the publishing house saying, well, we're not putting any more money into this. There's nothing you can do about it. If they're not going to print any more copies of the book, it's only whatever exists now. So they literally hold your book to ransom until the end of the contract. The only alternative is to try to get them to just release it if it's not a big, if business is business, or you buy it out. I don't see the benefit in any of that. So I'm not a stupid individual. That'd be the one thing in the back of my mind. So if I was dealing with a publisher and they wanted to do something with me, I'm not stupid. Like, what's the arrangement? Immediately, I'm already on the defensive. I'm not someone who would just jump and go, oh my God, someone's reached out. No, you've got to impress me. I can do it slowly and do it my way. I'm good. I don't answer to anyone. I create what I want from an authentic place. There's no one to tell me, you can't write that, you can't say that. I'll do what I want. I'll say what I want. There's no filter. And that's how I want to be. Even if the book was selling, let's say there was pressure from governments or from anybody, some political leader, someone with influence, power, they could just stop your book because of the pressure. They can't stop my book. If there was an issue, like for instance, let's say Amazon's the provider, let's say Amazon's my priority at the moment in terms of the one who's going to print my book, who's going to list it. There's other places that can print and list my book elsewhere. I know, I was looking into them before, but I prefer Amazon as a partner. But if it changed in the future, I can adapt. And I can adapt myself. Like for instance, even in the digital copy you put on Amazon as a Kindle, I can get it on Kobo. I can literally get it on Google Play stores. I can get it on Apple stores. Most of my books are. I just don't think going forward I'm going to keep spreading it like that. But if there was ever a problem with Amazon, I can go somewhere else and I can get my book printed elsewhere. And it'll be in different places. And it might even make the stores through that route. But again, you're going to have to take a hit on your royalties. There's other ways, is what I'm saying. There's other ways to do. I'm adaptable. But one of the things, if I was ever going to even consider working with a mainstream publisher, the one thing that if they say no to, I don't care what money you offer me. We're not doing it. Because I will not have my voice silenced. So if I was to say, look, if you decide to back out of printing these books in the future, all rights default back to me. Because I'm not doing that where I have to fight tooth and nail to get the rights back to my work. Either we're equal in it or not, but I'm not having that where you own me. No one owns me. So again, I would read every little bit of fine print. You would not get anything past me. And that's the other thing with me. If I have a conversation with someone, I'm very justice and integrity is everything with me, right? Honestly, I couldn't give a shit. I don't care how much money someone flaunts in front of me. If I'm sitting across from someone and we're being frank with each other, because that's one of the things I'd say. And they'd have to tell me there and then, is that something we agree on or not? And if they say to my face, yeah, if there's ever an issue in that sense, like we can't print your work for whether it's political, whether it's financial, whatever the reason, your work would default back to you, and you'll be free to do what you want with your property. That'd be one thing I want. There'll be other things, of course. Because I'm not going to make it where they make all the profit and I'm the idiot. It's like, no. Don't do. We're not stupid. It's like I might forego less upfront cost and I want more in the royalties, because I see things as more of a long-term thing rather than a short-term thing. So you give me a little bit now and it makes me feel like it's great because I'm struggling. I'm struggling, mate. I can struggle. Don't take the piss. That's the thing. Don't think because I'm struggling, I'm going to take freaking something that's not. Let's say it's £20,000. And they're going to give you 20 pence per book. I don't know what the rules are. I really don't care. For me, that sounds shit. So no, sod you 20 grand. I want if that's 20 pence on the pound, then I want 50 pence on the pound, or I want 40 pence. I don't know, but I want more than you're offering there. I'll be quite a hard bargainer because I know what I want. It's all about respect. But anyway, if I was sitting across from someone or on whatever it is, video chat, and they tell me no, this is how it is. This is yeah, and I'm hearing all the things I want to hear. And we've come to an agreement, even if I've had to negotiate and I haven't got everything. And I'm like, you know what? This is fair. I can accept this. And then I go through the paperwork. If I go through the paperwork and there's anything different that we've agreed, because I'm a memory box. I'll know we agreed it. I'm not an idiot. And there's anything different in there, that contract's off immediately. Because anyone lies to me in my life, I don't put up with it. I don't care. I don't care what level you are. If I can't trust you, dead end. So if someone ever lies to me like that in a contract situation, I would cancel it immediately. I'd be like, tough shit, I don't care. I'll just do it my way. If it takes me 10 years to sell copies, it takes me 10 years to sell copies. I don't need you. I don't actually need you. But if we're going to do it quicker and it helps reach more people and it's going to help them and it helped me in the process and we all benefit from it, great. But don't think I'm a mule. That's the thing with me. Don't take the piss, because you take the piss with me, you find the freaking everything gets shut down immediately, like Fort Knox. And I'm not an idiot that would sell my intellectual property either. So if anyone thinks that shit either, that don't happen. So, yeah. I think anyway, I'm not going to go too deep into that shit. I just want to show people that I don't see it as a negative to produce my own work. I see it as a positive, because it's unfiltered. And I love the fact that that opportunity is available to people nowadays. I actually think the mainstream publishing, the way it is, I think is dying out. I'm not saying it'll ever fade, because I think there's a place for it. But I think the idea it's the only way for the quality to remain. I think it's a flawed way of looking at it. I've done the whole process with my books, and I like what I've done. Whether something's perfect is for other people to decide that. I don't think perfection truly exists, to be honest. But I've done what I've done. I'm proud of what I've done. And as you can see, I don't need anyone to do it for me. And I think that's quite impressive, really. I don't want to float my own boat here, but I think that's quite impressive. So, yeah. I mean, one of the things I'm weaker at is marketing, because I freaking hate self-promotion. I hate marketing. I get people messaging me all the time, and I just get fed up with it, to be honest. It's always like, I don't have money at the moment, so how the hell am I going to pay people to market my book? And I always just think, God damn, I've done all the work. You want me to do it? You're probably going to use AI to generate a marketing campaign anyway, which if I don't touch AI. I don't like AI. I've already said I use Grammarly. I'm very open about it. I use Grammarly to help me with fine-tune my work to get it up to, just it's just like the same way you would use a dictionary, an automated dictionary on Word. Grammarly's the same thing. It just helps with a little bit. It just speeds the process up a little. That's all it is. It's nothing big. It's not written by Grammarly. I write it. A lot of time I argue with the app anyway. I always think, what are you doing? You're changing it to shit. Sometimes they'll say stupid things. It would be the word don't even match what I want. And I'm like, that don't even make sense. So even though I fight with with that side of things, and that's something a lot of people use, in all industry. But I don't use AI at all. That's the only thing, like a spell checker, grammar thing. But I won't use AI for shit. I don't like it. I don't know how to do it. I see people do things all the time. There's stuff where you just type something in. I don't do any of that. I don't like it. If something pops up on my Copilot shit on my computer, I think, God damn, get that shit off my face. I don't think I'd ever use AI. I don't like it. It's too dangerous, in my opinion, in terms of creativity and things. And that's actually a genuine concern I have. If I was to ever merge with anybody to do like a marketing campaign and stuff, it's like the idea that I don't know, let's say they want a certain amount of royalties. Let's say they want money up front. It's just a bit of a piss take. For a genuine marketing agency, you're actually putting time and effort into something, genuinely going to build your content, your brand, and I get it. If I had the money, that'd be great to work with an established brand, like people that can help you. But the idea that you pay someone money and then they just go on this chat GPT, whatever the hell it is, or these other ones, I don't know, they keep saying different names. And all they do is put a little bit of wording in and it generates a load of shit. And they've got a load of money from you for that just because I'm ignorant of AI. It's a bit of a freaking cop out, isn't it? Today, I've sod that shit. I'll just do it a slow word of mouth way at the moment. That's literally all I do. You won't see me keep promoting the book because I don't like doing it. When I've got a copy, I might do a video on it, but then I might not. It's just the thing with me. That's my downfall. If you actually I don't think my downfall is the quality of my work. My downfall, in terms of not capitalizing on what I do, is that I don't promote well because I don't like it. It's not that I can't do it. I don't like it, and I won't do what I don't like. I always knew if I wanted to be. If you could see, I could talk for ages. I'd know if I wanted to be a car salesman, I could be a car salesman. But I refuse to fleece people out of money. I don't do shit. I don't like it. If someone's interested in something, then they'll organically see it and like it. They'll be interested. It's a bit like this video. If no one was interested, they wouldn't get past the first minute anyway. So, it's actually be talking about it, like honestly, and it's a bit like I prefer to do things easier. Like if you take away this image, I've done so many videos. I put a little image of my phone. I'm not intrusive. I don't put adverts and stop my videos halfway through and then to force people to sort of watch something for 30 seconds or a minute of me just going, check this out. Because I could do that with all my videos. All my videos, I could stop at about 2 minutes in, 10 minutes in, and another one at 20 minutes in, and it could be plugging a book. Oh, check this book out. I'm not doing that shit to people. Sod that crap. That's annoying as shit. So all I do is put a little image here. And if you're interested, you're interested. If you're not, I'm not going to sort of force it on people's faces. Anyway, I hope it's been interesting way longer than I thought it'd be.